Welcome everyone. We thank you for joining today's webinar on InfoPath End of Life, Modern UI to PowerApps and Flow. Today's webinar is brought to you by Microexcel. Microexcel is global technology solutions and services company. I am your host for today, Amit Kumar, and I head the marketing at Microexcel. In today's webinar, we will be covering the impact of InfoPath end of life and actually touch upon the reasons why Microsoft had to get into InfoPath end of life. We'll see some of the business impacts of this and look at the benefits that the tools like PowerApps and Flow have to offer in context of this end of life. We'll also take a close look at some real-time implementation examples to help the organizations who are looking for migrating to PowerApps. To take us through this webinar, we have Ashish Gupta, who is Senior Solution Architect of Microsoft practice at Microexcel, and he brings about 15 years of expertise in Microsoft technologies, and his area of experience includes Office 365, Azure, SharePoint. In the past, Ashish was also associated with IBM as SharePoint technical lead, and over his career he had worked with multiple brands like Goldman Sachs, Wellness, John Deere, etc. At Microexcel, Ashish is helping our customers with solution architecting, end-to-end development projects in SharePoint environment, helping our customers to efficiently move to the cloud. So with that quick introduction, I would like to hand over the mic to Ashish. But before that, few hygiene announcements. So all the attendees will be on listen-only mode. All the questions can be put in the questions panel of GoToWebinar. We'll bring those up towards the end of the webinar. And with that, Ashish, over to you.
Thank you, Amit. Welcome everyone to the webinar of InfoPath End of Life. So the agenda of today's presentation is, first I will briefly talk about InfoPath history and its end of life. Then I will introduce the Microsoft Power Platform. Then I will talk about the PowerApps and Flow, their introduction, their capabilities, how we can migrate. And then I will show some examples, some common scenarios of InfoPath and PowerApps, so you can plan your forms migration to PowerApps and modern technologies in your organization. Then I will speak about the governance and pricing of PowerApps and Flow, so you can plan these things effectively. And then I will show you what are the upcoming capabilities of Power Platform. And finally, I will open up the presentation for Q&A. Okay. So before I go further in the presentation, I want to collect some information. So this is poll question 1. You will see on your screen the question. So please provide your input. So this will help me in tailoring my presentation.
So Ashish, we have got the response and I'm closing the poll. We'll summarize the findings. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Rakesh, can you help us close the poll and share the outcome?
Sure, Amit. So this is the outcome of the second poll, where 78% of the people are using InfoPath SharePoint Designer and custom developed workflow. And so we are facing some problem, Amit. I think we can proceed. We are not able to see the first poll.
Sure. Okay. No worries. We will publish the outcome in once the webinar is hosted. So Ashish, I think we can proceed.
Okay. So are you able to see my screen again?
Yeah, I am able to.
Okay. All right. So sorry everyone for a little bit of a technical glitch, but let's continue with the presentation. So as you can see on my screen, this is brief about InfoPath history. So as you all know, the InfoPath was first released as part of Microsoft Office 2003 as a separate component. And we all have been enjoying InfoPath since it was announced. It has been pretty good tool in its lifetime. We all have developed some nice forms for the business. Then the last release of InfoPath was announced as part of 2003 Office version with Office 365 Pro Plus subscription. So Microsoft has given some dates to keep in mind to plan our migration. So the mainstream support ends for InfoPath 2013 on July 31st, 2021, and the extended support ends on July 14, 2026. So a good amount of time Microsoft has given, so we can plan the migration, we can analyze and assess the cloud or the modern technologies, and we can be ready for the migration. Okay. So let's first understand what is Microsoft Power Platform. Okay. So the Microsoft Power Platform is based on three pillars: analyze, act, and automate. These three things make the Power Platform. Now, what exactly is analyze, right? So as we all know that in today's organizations, we have several complex systems or too many different types of systems. We have the on-premises legacy systems, some edge systems, which are kind of middleware between on-premises and the cloud systems, and some modern cloud systems too. So with so many systems, we know that all those systems are working as per their capacity, as per their functionality. They are generating a lot of data. They are taking input a lot of data. So we have different types of data from different systems. But are we really utilizing all that data to get insight into our business, into our organization? So as we know that data is a very powerful thing. We can convert the data into insightful action and try to understand, is there any weak link in our organization? Is there any problem in our organization? And can we improve that? So that's where this first pillar comes into the picture as part of this Power Platform notion, that take the input data from different types of systems and make a visualization, a visual chart for that, and try to understand what's going on in our organization, right? Once we have a picture in front of us about the data, then we can take action on that. And that's where the second pillar comes into the picture, the act, right? So with the help of PowerApps, we can develop some nice custom applications, the custom apps, which can be used to define the course of action, right? So once you have a visual chart in front of you, you can plan a course of action in your organization. And with those PowerApps applications, you can leverage your employees to take those actions and take the input data via those apps. And once they input that data, you can feed back that data back into those systems and again generate the chart with those updated systems and see did anything improve. Okay, so you can see here there is an engine here, there is a cycle here. After analysis, you do act via PowerApps, right? Now, of course, the during action or during act, you would like to automate multiple things, because in today's world, doing manual things is not really a nice thing or great thing. So that's where this third pillar, the automate, comes into the picture, where people have the forms or the custom apps in front of them, and with the automate thing, which can be achieved via Microsoft Flow. So with the flow, you can automate your actions. You can generate some approval emails or update some items into some other system. You can connect your application with different data. So with all these three things, you can make the powerful and complex business application. So that's the basis of our today's webinar, that how we can leverage these technologies to improve our organization. So let's see a little deeper into these three pillars. So like I said, with Power BI tool, you can analyze your data. And as you can see on my screen, there is a nice visual chart, the bar graph, the pie, the map, where the data is coming from different systems of your organization. So when you have a visual look of your data in front of you, you actually gain an insightful action and a visualization of your organization. And then you can plan further, like what to do with this part system. So that's where this analyze pillar comes into the picture, which can be achieved via Power BI. Okay. Then second, act. So the act portion can be achieved via Power Apps. So with Power Apps, we can develop some nice looking and complex business apps in few hours. So you remember that in older time, we used to have like InfoPath and some other development technologies, which used to take a lot of time because of deployment and not really much support across the platform or mobile devices. So all those things used to take a lot of time, maybe months or more time to develop those apps. But with Power Apps, you can achieve all those things in just few hours. And as you can see on my UI, it's not just a typical the leave request form or vacation form, but it's a full-fledged business application where you can embed your charts, the Power BI charts, so that people who are filling the form or who are consuming the form, they have the insight of all the data, all the information right into the form, and they can take action accordingly. Okay. And then the third pillar, automate, which is achieved via Microsoft Flow. So again, on my screen, as you can see, the designer screen where you can drag and drop different workflow actions. So you are already familiar with maybe some other third-party tools or SharePoint Designer, some other workflow technologies where you can have a visual flow. So similar thing is here, but more robust and better. You can define your actions, your loops, your conditions, your branches, and you can develop a complex workflow by connecting to different types of systems. So these are pretty powerful tools, and they can fully improve your business and other things. Okay. So let's dig deeper into this Power Apps. So Microsoft Power Apps is a SaaS-based service, which is software as a service. Okay. So using Power Apps, you can create custom business applications across platforms. So this is the important point, that you don't need to be limited yourself for just a Windows operating system or Windows Phone or anything. You can develop apps for Windows, for Mac, for Android devices, iOS, anything. So as you can see, like the first point or the first image unified systems and data services. Now, what is Common Data Service? Common Data Service is a cloud-based data storage. So in Common Data Service, all the Dynamics 365 data is already stored. So that's a great thing that you can connect your PowerApps app with Common Data Service where already Dynamics 365 data is there, and you can develop some complex business application leveraging that data. Okay, it of course comes with some plan or pricing, which I will talk in my further slides. But other than Common Data Service, you can also consume your data from other systems like maybe SQL or any other backend system or Excel files or on-premises system. So there are hundreds of connectors available in Power Apps which you can use to consume data from and utilize them in your app. Then comes building the apps and forms. So of course, with Power Apps, you can build some nice responsive UIs based on the target size of the device or the screen. And you can embed your workflow into that Power Apps app form without writing any code. So this is the very important point that you don't need to be a typical developer or a technical person to develop these PowerApps apps. So the idea is that in the organization, anyone from the topmost hierarchy to the bottommost, anyone should be able to develop the PowerApps apps. Okay, and then finally, you can publish your apps instantly on the web and mobile. So this is today's need, as you all know, that we should be able to publish our apps on the cell phone devices, on any other tablets or laptops or desktops easily and quickly so that people can start using them. And in fact, if after publishing the first version, if there is a need to modify that application or extend that application with some new functionality, we should be able to maintain the version control and push the new version quickly to those mobile devices, which was a big pain in the older technology. Okay? So these are some prime advantages of Power Apps. Now, if we talk about in terms of SharePoint, so Power Apps, as I mentioned, it provides a low-code way to create custom solutions for SharePoint Online. Okay, so with Power Apps, if we integrate with SharePoint, you can create the view form, the create and modify form for SharePoint lists. And if you publish your app on the mobile phone, you can leverage the native mobile controls like camera or something. You can also automate your overall business process with the combination of Power Apps and Flow, which I will show you shortly. Okay. So let's see what are the key advantages of Power Apps over InfoPath. So the first thing is Power Apps enable a powerful future. So today we should be using the tools and technologies which are future compatible, which are cloud compatible. So as you know that organizations are moving towards cloud, if not public, then at least the private cloud, and cloud is a shared environment. You don't have full control there. So we need a SaaS platform like Power Apps to develop our applications. So with Power Apps, you can use it to deploy the apps to the web, to SharePoint, Dynamics 365, Teams, Power BI, or any mobile device without any hardware or something. Things are natively available in Power Apps to utilize all these tools and technologies. Then share your apps. So of course, like I mentioned previously, once you develop your app, you should be able to publish and update your app on any mobile devices across the platform. So you should be able to publish on iOS, on Android devices, Windows Phone, or any other device. So it should be platform agnostic. Then speaking of mobile, so as I mentioned, when you publish your Power Apps on a mobile phone, right, you should be able to leverage your native controls or the features of your mobile phone. For example, you can use acceleration, the camera, the compass, the connection information, the location signals, all these controls you can utilize in your app and make it more usable and powerful. So as you know that our field workers or people who are mostly remote, when they're out of the office, they're working remotely. If they have to fill their location on an app, they can simply utilize that feature from their phone. They don't really need to um, dig into this thing like where they are, what's their location, etc. The cell phone can capture the location and directly populate into the apps field. So that's a great thing about it. You can leverage the mobile features in your apps and then get out of the box. So um, as I mentioned, PowerApps is able to connect multiple data sources. So you can consume the data from your different sources within your organization or outside your organization very easily. So currently, there are more than 200 connectors available in Power Apps to connect with your on-premises data, your cloud data, or any other third-party data. Okay, so that's very important thing that you should be able to consume data from different systems, and that's what goes back to my first point that organizations today have different types of systems. So they would like to see the data into their one app so that people who are using those apps or filling the forms, they have the full overview of the organization or their relevant data, like what to enter in this app, where to see, and can I see some chart to, before I fill this form, etc. All that information can be available in that one app, and it's very easy for them to use that app now. And then further, we can integrate the other Office 365 services like Azure services, Flows, Dynamics 365. So by combination of all these things, we can make a very powerful and complex app using Power Apps. Okay. Then Power Apps and SharePoint even better together. So what does that mean is that using Power Apps, you can customize your SharePoint list form. So if you're not from SharePoint background, list is a very common thing or normal thing in SharePoint. It's just a tabular structure, and I will show you some real examples on my screen. That a list has typically three forms: the new form, the edit form, and display form. So you can customize all these three forms using Power Apps. You can write your business rules. You can have some conditional formatting, some nice look and feel for each of these different forms, and you can present a very good experience to your end users and customers. Okay, so customized form is available in SharePoint with the help of Power Apps. Then the second bullet is um, you can also create the Power Apps Canvas app. So you can not only customize the forms, you can develop an app from SharePoint. So this can be a standalone app which you can deploy on the cell phone devices or in SharePoint, and it's all possible using Power Apps. So now I want to show you some common scenarios um, of InfoPath which are possible in an easy way in Power Apps. So this thing will enable you to plan your InfoPath migration to Power Apps, because when we look at our InfoPath form, we see, hey, there are a lot of business rules here. There are a lot of conditional formattings here. I was able to send an email from my InfoPath form. I was able to integrate with the workflow, some cascading dropdown. All these functionalities you have to plan in Power Apps. Then only you can have a successful migration from InfoPath to Power Apps. So I will show you these common functionalities, how we can achieve. Of course, there may be some other tens of hundreds of other things in InfoPath, which I can't really cover everything in this presentation, but these are some common scenarios which I will cover. So as I mentioned here, you can hide, show, lock a field based on a value. You can do conditional formatting. You can implement the role-based security. You can send an email from your Power Apps app. You can embed a workflow. And embedding workflow is in fact much more powerful and easier in Power Apps than InfoPath. So I will show you that. You can declare variables in Power Apps for your easy development. by declaring the global variable. You can have the cascading dropdowns, repeating table, and you don't need to have one massive app and mobile apps. So let me take you to my browser where I have some of these examples developed. So this will give you a nice picture about it. So this is one demo list I created to show some of those examples. So if I click new here, so you see, as I was mentioning, that there are three forms: new, edit, and display. So I have mentioned the title here, the new form. Um, so with this, you can implement any kind of a UI for your all three types of forms. Similarly, I have implemented some show hide thing. For example, if I toggle this button off, those fields are gone, and if I turn it on, the fields are visible. Right? These are some simple scenarios which we were able to do easily in InfoPath, but they are again very easy in PowerApps too. Similarly, if I type here some number, let's say 5001, this color of this field becomes red. And if I go back to 5000 or less, it turns black. So these are some conditional formatting where if you have some business rules in your scenario where based on the value, the color or some formatting should be changed, then you can see here it's quite possible. Now, similar to new form, I have display and edit form. So this is the display form where again I have mentioned here to show you that I have done some UI changes on this display form. And if I edit this, then I see the edit form title here. Okay. So if I show you the PowerApps designer real quick, so that's how the PowerApps designer looks like. And you can observe here that earlier I was in my Microexcel SharePoint site, but now I am in PowerApps.com. So as I mentioned, it's a SaaS-based service, the software as a service. So it has a different URL. However, with the single sign-on, once you have the proper subscription and licenses, you can, once you say PowerApps and customize forms, you are redirected to this URL, and here it will ask you the authentication or providing your username password again. But if you have single sign-on, it will take the same credential as your SharePoint, and you will land here and you will see the forms. So you can observe here I created three different forms: new, display, and edit, and I did my different rules and titles and other business logic. Okay. Similarly, I have another example created. So in this example, I have, as I was saying about the role-based security. So I mentioned like who is this person who is currently logged on, and it is showing my name. I'm also checking my permissions, right? So as I was saying, that sometimes you want to know that if this person has this permission or member of this group, then do this or do that, right? So a typical example is that if you are a project manager, then you can see the scheduling or the resourcing or budget or something. But if you are a normal team member or a non-project manager, then you should not be able to see those things, or at least you should not be able to edit those things. So by checking the permission or some membership, you can take those actions. Okay. And then another example is about embedding the workflow in the form. So here I have put a button, send email. And if I click this button, it will send me an email. So here I'm leveraging Microsoft Flow. So let me show you this. So this is that, again, the PowerApps canvas for my this app. So here, if I show you, this is the button. And if I go to action and I select flows, so I created a flow for my this particular button, and I'm leveraging the email functionality of the flow, and I'm sending email. So what I'm trying to show here is that you can embed the flows within PowerApps, and with the combination of PowerApps and flow, you can develop very complex scenarios. Okay, so this is pretty good and powerful in PowerApps. And similarly, as I was showing, um, okay, so that's this example. And the third example, I have the cascading dropdown. So for that, I have created this one simple list. And you can see here that there are two columns, the title column and the S category column. So in the title column, I have these repeating names, but their corresponding column has their some values. So cost has cost category 1 through 4. The program impact has program category 1 through 4, and schedule has 1 and 2 category, right? So with this example, I created a cascading dropdown, and let me show you how does that look. So if I click new here, and if you see here, like if the cost is selected in the parent dropdown, then the corresponding category values are coming in the child dropdown. Okay, and if I select the program impact, then I see the corresponding program category values, and of course, same thing with schedule. So we have seen numerous examples during InfoPath world about cascading dropdown. So this is very important thing, and you can see that with PowerApps, it's easily achievable. So again, if I take you to the PowerApps designer for my this list, then you can see here that I put these two dropdowns, and by having some function calls, I'm achieving this cascading functionality. Okay, so I don't need to be very technical about this. I don't need to know like some expat expressions or some other some high technical things. By calling some functions, I can easily achieve this functionality. Okay. So back to my presentation. Um, as I showed you these different things. Okay, there is one variable thing also, so that's also pretty easy to achieve. So you declare a variable with set, right? So if you see here that with set function, you write a variable name and value, and this thing becomes very important when you have a massive form or big form. So instead of hard coding the things for different things of your control, you should declare the variables and use those variables across the form, so that if tomorrow there is a change, you can simply change the value of that variable at the global place or one place, and it will take effect throughout your form instantly. Okay, so this is very good thing in terms of development, and this wasn't really there in InfoPath. Now another thing is repeating table, right? So repeating table is another important scenario in our form, and let me show you one example. So this is one form we developed, and if I click like add a material, I see I can add multiple rows in this table, and I have the delete and edit button. So this is also one common scenario in InfoPath where you need to have repeating tables, repeating sections. And the good thing is that InfoPath had the custom managed code like the C# code where you could write some complex things. But here there is not really any custom code, and without code we can achieve all these things. Okay, you can also save these individual rows of the table in SharePoint as a list item without writing any code, and that's a very powerful thing in PowerApps. Okay. Um, don't build one super app. So as you remember in InfoPath, there is a notion of views. So if you have a big form for your any business scenario, um, you plan to develop different views inside that form. So views is just a logical separation. It's not really a separate form. But in Power Apps, you can actually develop different apps as part of your one single requirement. And you can call those apps from each other. So you don't need to plan one single app and one single developer. You can break it down to different apps, and you can plan your developers accordingly. So that's a very nice thing in Power Apps, that break down your big massive form into multiple smaller forms. Okay. And then finally, mobile apps. So as I have been saying that you should be able to publish your apps to cell phone devices, the mobile devices easily. So let me show you how they look. So here I have my cell phone screen, and I installed the PowerApps app from Microsoft. So you can go to your iOS device or your Android device or Windows phone and install this app from Microsoft on your cell phone. Once you install it, once you log in with your organization, so uh, if you see here, I'm logged on with my microexcel.com account, and these are some settings here. You can log out also if you want. So once I do that, then I see the apps where I have access to. Okay, the access or the permission is important thing. So currently I have these few test apps where I have access. So like this help desk tickets. If I click on it, it will show me the interface. So this is the first loading screen of this app. It is currently fetching the tickets from the backend. Okay, the backend or the data storage for this app is SharePoint currently. So once it contacts the backend and it loads the data, so this is the first welcome screen. So you can log in as a help desk user, or you can log in as a help desk admin. So let's say I'm logging in as a help desk user. So it will show me the tickets. So currently there are 2 test tickets, and I can see their summary, that what is their priority, what is their ID, have they been started, or who they are assigned to, right? So I see them, and I can click edit to edit any detail. So once I click on that, it fetches the data and it shows me the status, the person complete assigned to. So currently you see that since I'm a help desk user, I can't really modify the status, the person complete, the assigned to, because I'm not admin, or I did not log in as an admin in this app right now. All I can do is I can type some description. Okay, because if I need to provide some more detail to this ticket, I can do that. But other things, these things, currently I don't have permission, and then I can click update. Okay, so I can go back, and if I want, I can create a new ticket. So that's a pretty nice interface, and as I said, that PowerApps is already having mobile responsiveness. So you don't need to worry about having some custom styling or CSS or HTML to make it mobile friendly. Okay. So that is one app. Let me show you my other cascading drop-down app. So if I go to my this example, again it's loading this app right now. Okay. So here it will show the items. So if I show you a new form here, so it's the same example as I showed you on my computer screen, that this is a parent drop down and this is the child drop down. So if I select the program impact, I see the program categories and same thing with others. Okay. So this is pretty handy, pretty nice for use. So this is another plus point with Power. All right. This is one example of Power Apps. Like you can see on left hand side, there is an InfoPath form, and right hand side is a corresponding Power Apps form. So you can see that you can plan the corresponding fields into Power Apps and make a nice UI about it. Okay. So let me just quickly walk you through about flow and few other things. So as I mentioned last time, that flow is to automate your work. So you can, some few examples, like you can get notifications, you can synchronize files, you can collect data, you can automate your approvals. All those things are possible with flow. Okay. Microsoft has given some different templates. So you can start with your business scenario. If your scenario matches with those templates, you can use them as is, or you can tweak them a little bit to match your scenario. So these templates help you develop the flows quickly. Okay? And if you have a complex scenario where you are talking to, say, Salesforce, Dynamics 365, some Twitter, some Excel files, all that complex scenario can be developed using flows. Okay? And like I mentioned, you can integrate your different systems like Box, the Google Drive, the Facebook, the Yammer, the Dynamics 365, the SharePoint, SQL. There are thousands of examples. You can have some complex scenarios in your organization using Flow and PowerApps. Now, this is the important thing. Some people think that PowerApps and Flows are cloud-based services. So what about if I have a data in my on-premises? So that's not a problem. If you have your on-prem data, you don't want to move your data to the cloud. With the on-premises gateway, you can connect your PowerApps and Flow with your on-premises data. So that is also available. And it comes with some plan, which I will show you. Then point comes about governance, right? So when you have any tools and technologies in your organization, you would like to implement governance in your organization, right? You want to make sure that people are using them with full control and with full governance rules. So you can implement the PowerApps and Flow governance in your organization. These are some plans like Office 365 plans. So if you have Office 365 subscription, you already have the PowerApps capability in your organization. However, there are some premium plans also available for PowerApps. So there is a plan 1 and plan 2. And you can see on my screen that plan 1 is $7 per user per month. Plan 2 is $40 per user per month. However, if you observe this red bold line on the top of the screen, these plans Microsoft continuously changes. So they are in the process of changing the plans. Please refer the Microsoft website for the latest plan. This slide I have prepared as per the current scenario. So PowerApps Plan 1 means you can, if you have some complex scenarios, like if you want to access the on-premises data, as I mentioned in my previous slide, if you want to access data in some custom applications, or you want to use some premium connectors, then go for Plan 1. And if you have some even more complex scenarios, like you want to run model-driven apps, which include some custom code plugins, some real-time workflows, then you need Plan 2. Okay, so again, refer the Microsoft website for more plan information and pricing model. For the Flow, currently there are 3 plans: Flow Free, Flow Plan 1, and Flow Plan 2. But again, Microsoft is changing these plans from October 2019, so please refer the latest information. So as of now, these plans are distinguished by the number of runs per month, how frequently they should be checked, like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. So based on your requirement, you can choose the plan. Okay. And again, these are again the further description of different plans. You can refer them. Okay. So I just want to take a minute or so to show you the upcoming capabilities of Power Platform. So Microsoft is continuously adding new things in their cloud-based services, but I thought like these 3 points are important for us to discuss. So first thing is AI Builder. So Microsoft is adding the artificial intelligence capabilities in Power Apps and Flow. So you can embed like the image recognition system or the object recognition system, the speech related things. So all those artificial intelligence things you can include in your Power Apps and Flow to make them even more intelligent. So that is in the preview right now. You can start using it, but of course, when Microsoft will fully release it, then they may have some more capabilities. And then PowerApps portals. So PowerApps portals, you can use it to develop some external websites where your external people can access those websites. So you can leverage the PowerApps platform to develop the websites. And then finally, DevOps for Power Platform. So you all know that we need DevOps for a streamlined development and operations. So there is a DevOps for PowerApps and Flow. For example, for PowerApps checking, Microsoft is introducing a PowerShell module, which is PowerApps Checker. So what does that mean is that before you deploy your solution, with the checker, you can check your solution that is there any issue in this, and if not, then you can push it via DevOps. So some nice capabilities are coming up. Some new DevOps things are coming up in Power Platform. So I request you to all of you to use it in your organization. So here my presentation ends, and I open it for Q&A.
Thank you, Ashish. It was certainly a very informative presentation, and I'm sure people would have got most of their questions answered. Let's see if we have any questions in the panel. And yeah, so we have three questions. First one is, we have invested a lot on InfoPath as an organization and wanted to check if there is direct migration possible from InfoPath to PowerApps.
So unfortunately, no, you cannot directly migrate from InfoPath to PowerApps. You will have to redevelop all your InfoPath functionalities into PowerApps from scratch. So there is not really any tool, any script, or any such thing which can convert your InfoPath form to PowerApps.
Okay, hope that answers, or else we can also have detailed discussion on to make sure that the question is answered outside of this webinar. Moving on to the second question, can PowerApps effectively replace InfoPath? That's the second question.
Okay, so that's a good question. So InfoPath still has some things, like I mentioned in my presentation, you can write custom code in InfoPath, which kind of gives you some more power to connect to different things or write some custom functionality. In PowerApps, you don't really have a custom managed code facility as of now. But as I showed some common scenarios like some conditional formatting or some workflows or look and feel, those things definitely can be achieved in PowerApps easily. So there are many nice things in PowerApps like mobile connecting to different data sources without any code, which you can leverage in PowerApps. But few things in InfoPath like the code, the offline submission capability, the printing, those things are still they are with InfoPath. And Microsoft is continuously adding new things, new capabilities in PowerApps, and that's where this 2026 date comes into the picture. So you can plan your forms migration accordingly.
Okay, thank you for taking that question. The next one is for SharePoint forms. Do the user need PowerApps license?
So for the licensing, as I mentioned, if you have Office 365 subscription, you already have that license. You don't need any premium plan or any other license to customize your forms. It comes with your Office 365. But if you plan some premium connectors or go to some complex scenarios within those SharePoint list forms, then yes, you will need to upgrade it to some premium plans. But again, I also mentioned that recently in Microsoft Inspire event, Microsoft introduced some new licensing model. So please keep an eye on Microsoft websites. They may change the licensing model completely. So that may give you some more insight into it.
Okay. The next one is, are there any built-in functions for creating printable files from the form contents?
So there is not really any out-of-the-box button, and unlike InfoPath had one out-of-the-box print button, but you can easily have a button with some functions or some calls within Power Apps. So you will need to plan that button. You will need to think about some high-level function calls or a low code about the print button, which can show your form in a printable form, and then you can print. But out of the box, it's not there yet.
Okay, moving to the next question. Are repeatable tables available in PowerApps? Repeating
So,
tables available in PowerApps.
so yes, as I showed on my screen, with the gallery control and with the collection controls, yes, you can achieve the repeating table scenario. And as I also mentioned that you can store those individual rows of the repeating table in your SharePoint list as an individual item. That's a great thing about Power Apps, that by calling some functions, you can do that. Unlike InfoPath, where we had to write a big code. So that's a relief in Power Apps.
Okay, and the next question, I think we have a couple of more questions, so let's take those up quickly. Can you develop Power Apps alongside InfoPath currently setup, or do you have to clone the list or site?
So if I'm understanding the question, do you want to have InfoPath form and Power Apps form on the same list? Then no, you cannot do that. The form can be customized in one technology only. But yes, if you're asking like if I have two different lists in my SharePoint site, can I do InfoPath on one list and Power Apps on another list? Yes, you can do that. InfoPath is still supported in SharePoint.
Okay, hope that answers the question. Moving to the next one, will there be support for tabbed forms?
Yes.
That's our next question.
That's a great question. And yes, we at Microexcel, we have developed some nice forms with the tabs. So that will need some development effort and some low code thing with the HTML and CSS. But yes, it's quite possible. And like I said, in our some internal processes of Microexcel, we have developed some tabbed forms with the security and permissions. So yes, it's quite possible.
Okay, now we have two questions. I'm trying to club it into one. What is common in InfoPath and Power Apps, and what are different? What are the different features in those?
Sure. So the common things are they both have desktop clients. So as you know, with InfoPath, we have InfoPath Fonts Designer, and with Power Apps also, there is a Power App Studio desktop software which you can download and work on that. So in my presentation, I showed you the web-based studio, but you can also have a desktop studio for Power Apps. So they both have desktop clients. They also both have Font Designer. So as I showed on my screen for Power Apps, you can drag and drop controls. You can have some business rules. You can see the hierarchical structure, different functions, or the look and feel. So from that perspective, both of these softwares are same. They both, of course, can be used to develop the apps for the web. They both have mobile support. So InfoPath also had some templates for the mobile development, but of course it's not that flexible and easy to use as Power Apps. But there was something in InfoPath for mobile support also. And finally, the data sources. So InfoPath also allows you to connect to different data sources, but for that you need to plan some code or some WCF service or custom web service. While in Power Apps, it's natively available. You simply add the data source and start using it. So this kind of gives you a high-level overview of kind of similarity and who is better, who's not. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay, yeah, I think that was the last question that we had received. We have about 3 more minutes left, so questions are welcome. If you have any questions, please feel free to use this time. So we'll give folks another 30 seconds to see if we have questions. And in the meanwhile, I'll request all the attendees to help us with the survey, which will be shared once we close the webinar. We'll be obliged, if you can fill that up. It will not take more than a minute. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of webinar, we'll have the recording posted online and shared with you for your leisure viewing or sharing. And I think we don't have more questions. So let's close this. Thank you everyone once again for your time today, and have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.